Welcome! Today we're going to go through how to set up different delivery services like Uber Eats and DoorDash, and basically they're all set up kind of in the same sort of vein, so I'm going to just name it delivery service as we do this, but you'll see that as we go. So in ProfitTrack we're going to go into Setup, Edit Lookup Tables, and Register Tenders. So tenders is the way that we would suggest that it gets set up. It's definitely not the only way, but it is the suggested way. So we'll click Add at the bottom to add a new tender. We'll name it the appropriate delivery service, so that would be something like Uber Eats or DoorDash or Deliveroo, whatever have you. I'm going to name this delivery service because mine's not going to be for a specific one of them. I'm just going to have them all. When we're going through our tender types, none of those really quite fit. You know, it's not cash, it's not check, it's not FPOS. It's definitely not mobile or GiveX, so other charge is going to be appropriate. It's not going to an account, so we're going to leave that blank. Open drawer, don't really need to open a drawer for this sort of service, so that's fine. Rounding we'll leave out. Security level, if you only want a certain security level clerk to operate this tender, you can set that. I'm not going to, I don't have security level set in my system, or at least not in this system. Change PO, there's no change, so that's fine. None. GL account, if you want to set one up for that, you can. Tender approval, so that's going to be manual. It's not integrated at all. It's all a manual setup. Compulsory tender, nope. Use reference, so it is good practice to have use reference. You put in the delivery information or the order information from that service into the reference field, just so that if you do track through the receipts, you'll at least have a reference to what's going on. Apply loyalty, no, because you don't really know who's buying it, so the loyalty doesn't apply if you're using loyalty. Declarable, no, that's fine, we'll leave that out because we can declare it manually against what each delivery service says that we've done. So we'll say OK to that, close, yes, and OK. So that's sending through at the moment. YT pause, fantastic, alright. So the next thing we need to do now that we've created the tender is actually set up the button for it. So if we go into Setup, Register Settings, Keyboard Layout. Now alternatively, if you have seen, we've got Ask the Expert video in the top right now about how to do editing keyboards. If you'd prefer to just do that, feel free to watch that. It goes through the entire thing of keyboards, but we'll digress. So going into this, I got PT-Pos and Register Group. I think Register Group is my keyboard. I'm just going to open it really quickly and check. Bear with me. So that's loading. There we go. So I'll bring that over just so that you can see it. So there's our keyboard. So under subtotal, we now need to add a new key. So we can see there's a blank key there. So I'll just repurpose that to be our, I'll say that this will be Uber. Now it could be any of them. It doesn't really matter which. So I'll right click on it, click edit. I could type in Uber here and just change the font to white instead of black, and that would be fine. However, what I'm going to do is actually put an image in because I got an image for Uber. So I'll click that, click open, Uber Eats. So there it is there. Fantastic. So in the functionality, we're going to go to tender, click on delivery service. So as I said, we're going to assume that the delivery service there is actually Uber Eats, but I've just named that delivery service because we're doing generic. And there is our Uber Eats button. So if I save that, close this, send this down to the point of sale. Fantastic, our point of sale's received it. So we'll jump over to the point of sale so I can demonstrate what that looks like. Excellent, so on the point of sale, I will sign in. I'll bring up my Coca-Cola 30 pack, go to subtotal, go to Uber Eats. So because we had the reference ticked, it's going to ask me for the reference. So I could say Jared, that's my reference, enter. It's going to ask for accept or decline because it's a manual authorization of the tender. Now, of course, if it's come through on the, in this case, Uber Eats iPad, it's already been approved, but we'll say accept. So there we go. That means I have officially sold Coca-Cola Family Pack 30 by 375 mils to Uber, or rather through the Uber service. So none of this is integrated. Obviously, it's all manual. There's no integrated method for it. What I am going to point out is now the cells and the costs. So there's two ways to do this, or two ways to think about it, neither of which is going to result in a correct GP for any of these products. So either you sell them as they are, so Coca-Cola 30 pack, we use that as the example, it's $10. You can sell it at $10, even though it should have a 18% markup or whatever it is. You can sell it at $10, and then your cost and your sell is correct in Profit Track, and your GP will be correct in Profit Track, assuming you're not taking into account Uber. Which means that once you factor in the sales with Uber and the costs with Uber and profit with Uber and all of that, your GP will be correct overall. However, that's in two separate systems. Same can be said if you change the sell price inside POS. So if I was to go, you know what, cancel that, price override 30 pack, $11.80. Oops, sorry, $11.80. If I now sell that $11.80, which is the correct sell price for Uber, my GP in Profit Track is going to be higher than it actually is because the cost price hasn't changed. However, once you tally that up again against the costs with Uber, overall, it's correct. So it's up to you which way you want to handle that, whether you want the sell price and cost price to be accurate in Profit Track so that you get a correct GP percent based off your normal sell, not your Uber sell as well. Or if you just want to have the sell prices correct, so that $11.80 in the case of this Coca-Cola product, so that you can see the sells including the Uber pricing. But if you do it that way, you just need to keep in mind that the GP percent in Profit Track is going to be higher than what it actually should be, purely because the costs for Uber aren't in Profit Track. So just the two ways to keep in mind. And the one thing we'll talk about, or the last thing we'll talk about, is the couple of ways you can get information about what you've sold, so you can balance against any of the provided things from Uber, DoorDash, Deliveroo, so on. So back in Profit Track, I'm going to talk about the ways that you can track what's been sold. So if we're talking from a receipt point of view, we're going to use EJ Viewer, which is under Comms, EJ Viewer. Click on Search, choose Tender, drop down your tender type to Delivery Service, and click OK. So we sold one thing, which was the Coke 30 pack or whatever it was for the $10, and there it is there. So if I open that up, you'll be able to see that under the Delivery Service Tender, we have our reference, which was Jared. And that's how you can see it. So you can only really see the references on the receipts. You can't see them so much on the reports. So just keep that in mind, but that's transactional based. So if I close that and instead go into reports, sales reports, and go into the tender summary. Now in the tender summary, just keep in mind that you have to have your sales collected first. I've already done that. I'm going to remove the two there. Now you'll notice in here, I'm just going to quickly demonstrate this, there's no delivery service. Now that's because we used other charge when we created the tender earlier. So if I move that over, click OK. There's our report, and that's over a period. Now, only thing to keep in mind there, you'll notice it's $12.50, so another $2.50 has gone through this system on other charge. So you will need to start breaking that apart in EJ Viewer to see what else is being sold there. So the final method that I'm going to show is under sales reports again, but it's PT POS shift reconciliation. So if I bring this up, so same thing, when this comes up, I can select my dates. I'm going to just leave that as today for now, just because we know we've sold something today under the delivery service. We'll click OK, and it's going to come up with the shift information. So I'll drag that up so we can all see it. So you can see there under my sales reconciliation, I sold $2.50 worth of cash and $10 in the delivery service. All in all, $12.50. You can also see in the other areas under Manager Declared, the delivery service is there as well. Nothing's declared by the manager because I didn't do a cash deck. That's fine, there's $10. So that's the other way to track it. So from start to finish, the first bit we covered, how to set up the tender. We then went through how to sell it. So keep in mind when you're selling, you are going to have an incorrect GP no matter which way you want to look at it. However, if you do go the route of having the same sell price in Profit Track, at least your normal sell, your day-to-day, is going to have the correct GP. However, your overall between the two systems will still be incorrect. If you go the other method and change your sell price, either by a price override or a sell to function or something like that, that's fine. Your sell information will be correct from Profit Track for both combined. Your cost information and therefore your GP percent, however, will not be correct until you combine both systems manually. And the last thing we covered was the areas to track it. So under EJ Viewer for transactions, under reports, tender summary if you need a period, and PT POS cash flow. Also if you need a period, however that breaks down all the different types of tenders. So if you have any questions about that, give us a call on 1-800-020-946. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps out the channel, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!